I told this story just before this crew came to take over. That in Fox Hill, or when the PLP, when George Mackey was alive, if the PLP fell short of a speaker, or if someone was late, like the leader coming, and you needed someone to speak to fill in the time, you just call George Mackey, and he'll just talk until the leader shows up. So that's what I say, doing George Mackey tonight. So, PLP? Okay. So the Prime Minister is been called to go to the Highway Church of God tonight. This is their convention. And so I don't think he's going to be able to make it tonight, so apologies on his behalf. So that's a starting point. But it's good to see everybody, and we want to be sure that these things happen every month now. So the fellowship, and it looked quite spirited when you were singing Bind Us Together. I haven't heard that in a long time. You must be old people's children, Quentin. There's a lot that's happened, and Michael Pintard thinks that there's blood in the water. But he has a surprise coming for him, because this is an organization that's come to govern this country, not to give awards. I'm speaking like Daddy King now. You have to raise to the tempo. Not to give awards to actors on the stage. I heard he got very offended. Said he doesn't like this idea of people calling him an actor, but he is an actor. And so when he shows up in the House of Assembly, our line should be, "And the envelope, please." Yeah, let him know. The Academy Award goes for the best actor in a comedy series to Michael Pintard, the leader of the opposition. But the serious point is that we should congratulate the Prime Minister for two things in the last couple of weeks. The first is carrying off the CARICOM conference with such expert. And the leaders of CARICOM who were gathered here, Justin Trudeau, who came in from Canada, they were all pleased at the outcome of the conference and the way it was expertly handled. And coming out of the conference were some important decisions about the way forward. One of the main ones, of course, is about Haiti. And I've seen the negative commentary which has come back. You know, every time you make some decision, on social media now, they have these people who just it's just foolishness. So the talk is that we shouldn't be engaged in trying to solve the problem in Haiti. But we're not trying to solve the problem in Haiti. We're trying to protect our borders. That's what we're doing. And it is necessary for us as a country in this region to engage in order for that to happen. So the Americans, given their history, were reluctant to get involved directly in the request by the Haitian government back in October for some kind of intervention force to support the Haitian National Police, which is a force which is overwhelmed by gangs in Haiti. And they asked the Canadians if they would, given their history, the fact that they have a huge diaspora in Quebec, whether they would get engaged in leading an effort to try and resolve both the security issue and the political issues. Thus, Justin Trudeau came down here for this meeting. And so two things have arisen as a result of the meeting. The first is that a fact-finding mission on the security side will go into Haiti sometime early next week, and we are sending some of our people on that fact-finding mission. The security of the mission is going to be guaranteed by the Americans and the Canadians. It'll only be a couple of hours. They'll be in and come right back out. All right, and my colleague, welcome Pia Glover Roll, please. Welcome Pia. And the idea is to show some support for the Haitian National Police. The second issue is Jamaica will host a conference of the stakeholders in Haiti, in Kingston, within a couple of weeks, to try and see if they can map a way forward on the political side in Haiti. Now, we've been down this road before because when P.J. Patterson, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, was the chair of CARICOM, the Bahamas, Perry Christie was then the Prime Minister, hosted a similar conference of opposition leaders here in Nassau at what was then, I think it was called the Ambassador Beach Hotel at the time. Excuse me. And so we're back at this stage again. And so that's part of the story I want to tell people, is that this is an age-old problem which is not going to go away. And you have to continue to just keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And the best you can do is manage the problem. So there's no final or ultimate solution. You just can manage the problem. And the problem is largely going to be managed by containment, which is to make sure the ships, the Canadians are putting their ships out in the water to join our ships, the British have ships, the Americans have ships to stop people from coming this way, and then provide security guarantees inside Haiti to try and resolve the problem. And that's the best we can do. And I say it like this because there's this narrative, and we have to be careful how we adopt this narrative. And it's based on what I think is a false premise, that you have this man who, and his partner, and I call them the Bobsy Twits, who are out there whipping up hysteria in the population about some people who are supposedly taking over our country. I assure you that there is a crisis in Haiti. There is no crisis in Nassau. Right. So the institutions in the Bahamas are functioning and fully functioning. Last year, the immigration minister repatriated 3,500 irregular migrants from Haiti, which is a record, right? 4,700, okay, fine, a record, whatever it is, it's a record. And that is continuing. And so when people come to you and say, the government needs to do, what more do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? The story I tell is, again, the immigration minister informed me there's a man, you might remember, who circulated this video in Harbor Island, he said, and he's sitting there in the golf cart saying, look at them, see all of them? You need to get rid of all of them, right? But it turns out that he has 3 work permits for Haitians himself. So just touch everyone else, just don't touch the ones who work for me. So all I'm saying is we have to be careful about adopting the rhetoric of the other side because they don't believe it either. All they're trying to do is to get to government. And then when they get to government, there's a different reality which sets in. So we are the government, and our job is to maintain peace and good order. And that's what the Progressive Liberal Party is doing under Philip Brave Davis. You saw the second point, the management of the economy. So this morning there was a presentation made about the mid-year budget statement. And that shows how, since we've come to office, the economy has turned around. Things are headed in the right direction. People have a better sense of themselves and the country. I mean, some fellow was, when we had something in Foxville on the weekend, he's busy rowing me. We got to do something about this Haitian problem. We got to do something about this Haitian problem. Mind you, I'm doing good, you know. I'm doing good, he's saying. He's a taxi driver saying, I got so much work, I didn't know what to do. But y'all got to do something about this Haitian problem, right? So people have a better sense of themselves than a year and a half ago. They're in a better place. So that tells us doubly why we should not allow ourselves to be distracted by these people. And this is a fellow, I wouldn't even call his name tonight. This is a fellow who started off now interfering with naked people on the beach with his camera at night. That's how he started out. You remember? If you go on YouTube, it might still be there, right? Going around interfering with people in the night on the beach. And then he even tried religion. Remember that? Yeah. Ordained as a pastor. And that didn't last as long as Patty in the army, right? So now he's a politician. And he suddenly has the best interest of the Bahamian people at heart. Firing off an assault weapon in the air and threatening to kill Haitians. This is the man who wants to lead the Bahamas now. Okay? So, against that background, what happens at the CARICOM conference last week? He announces that he's going to have a demonstration. And there's no problem with demonstrations. All of us have been to conferences overseas. There are demonstrations at every conference. That's in a democratic society, that's what you do. But there are ways to go about demonstrating, okay? There are rules which apply to it. And you've got to apply, and you've got to get a permit, and all the rest of that, if you don't get it. But what did he choose to do? The allegation is that someone, under an assumed name, moved into a hotel, and then suddenly this fellow appears. Now, this is the fellow who fired off an assault weapon and threatened to kill Haitians. He's in a secure area where leaders of foreign countries are supposed to come. How do we know what he's going to do or what he intends to do? And you're telling us that the police must do or do nothing, just allow that to happen and take place. People must have lost their ever-living minds in this country. It ain't gonna happen. And we told them before, iron will meet iron. You know, if you want to start that, we'll finish it for you. So that's what happened there. So do not get distracted by this stuff. So they say now they're going over to Miami to demonstrate over there. Yeah, well, my guess is, someone asked a question from the floor, where are they getting the money from? My guess is they're getting the money from the F&M. The F&M is funding them. And even if they ain't funding them, they funded them. All right. Let's put it that way. Put it on them. We know where you get money in this country from. Everybody knows where you get money from. What? It's Life at Key, Albany, the White Knights. Who else? The Numbers Boys, and the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the Sunshine Boys. Who else? That's 6. And then some isolated, like Gary and them. And I know, but the deputy only said that because he didn't want me to call his name. So I know it isn't Gary, and I know it isn't Chester. So we know where they're getting the money from. Yeah, right. We know. So they are being funded because, he ain't got 2 coppers to rub together. Right. So they're being funded by the F&M. The F&M is behind this, and they're making it possible for us. They're trying to get us distracted on this point. So all I say again is do not be distracted. The Bermuda Progressive Labor Party came to Nassau last week. Their Deputy Premier, Walter Raban, and Chris Famous, who's a member of Parliament, were representing their country at the CARICOM conference. We also had here the Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands, Washington Missick, and we had Dr. Wheatley, who is from the British Virgin Islands. And I mentioned those 3 territories because within the CARICOM context, the Bahamas has a special interest and relationship with those three territories. Mr. Missick had 2 meetings with the members of the diaspora in Nassau, one in Nassau and one in Grand Bahama. You probably know that there are more TCI citizens in Grand Bahama than there are in Turks and Caicos, or close to it. And recently, the government in the Turks and Caicos made an announcement which expands the number of people who can claim patriality to the Turks and Caicos. I think instead of 1 generation, it's now 2 generations. So that covers a wider ambit. They plan to open an office here in Nassau within a short while to look after their interests here. And we intend to appoint an honorary consul in Turks and Caicos to look after our interests there and also in Bermuda. So the Prime Minister, in his opening statement at CARICOM, indicated that money is changing hands. So the Prime Minister indicated at CARICOM that the Bahamas has a special interest in watching over the democracy in these 3 territories. They're the closest to us, up at the northern end of the CARICOM region. And right now, in the British Virgin Islands, the British are threatening to suspend their internal government and have direct rule from the UK as a result of a commission of inquiry which was held maybe 2 years ago. But they were very proud to say that they're holding their hand, the sword of Damocles is over the BVI, because they want to see whether BVI can resolve its own problems, according to them. And this largely has to do with the protests that took place when they suspended democracy in the Turks and Caicos, and we told them that they were completely off and wrong about that. So this time they say they're not going to do it. But they're trying to force, and according to the people in BVI, the government of BVI, they're trying to force them to do certain things which would not apply. So a lady made this point. In our region, as long as one country is not independent and people are not able to determine their fate themselves, we ourselves are not totally free. And so the Bahamas continues to monitor what happens in Bermuda, what happens in BVI, what happens in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And I say this because of all this stupidity by Michael Pintard and the FNM over this visit to Bermuda. I have been, the Progressive Liberal Party has been working for 30 years on trying to ensure that Bermuda, which has our sister party, the Progressive Labour Party, first of all, wins office, maintains office, and moves the project more and more towards self-determination. That's our foreign policy objective. And that's what we do when we're in office, and that's what we do when we're out of office. And so last year, we went to attend their biggest national holiday, the cricket match, and we also met with the Prime Minister and attended their convention just a few weeks ago. And that's going to be a continuing project for us. And this is the value proposition which we as a country carry to CARICOM, that we are watching over these territories and their development. That's in our view, our responsibility. So I want to make that clear, that's why we're engaged. So I thank all of you for coming tonight. The deputy will come next with his remarks. I want to say that we need to keep focused on what is the central job of our party, which is to maintain ourselves in government. There's no point in this thing ending in 2026. You've got to be saying to yourself that we're working toward the next term. And so everything we do ought to be focused on that point. And I think that looking at the generations here, all of them have a longer future, certainly, than I have. And it's important for us to be preparing an organization and a country that's going to be in progressive Liberal Party hands going forward. What concerns me is that the Progressive Liberal Party used to be, and I still say it is, but if we're not careful, it'll be grabbed away from us, the default party. The default party, which is, it is the party that the country turns to rescue the perishing. And we have to understand that our history tells us that we are the legacy party, and never let them rewrite history or forget it. So that's why we're spending all this time talking about our history, what we've done, what we are going to do, and to not get distracted by a flim-flam man who is out there spinning lie after lie, who is a paid provocateur. We cannot afford to be distracted by it. That's my 5 cents tonight, as I call the Deputy Leader of the party to address us. Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PLP!